A Carrera, infortunato, entra Sogliano. Subito pericoloso il Vicenza che all'8° passa in vantaggio con Moscardi. La barriera inganna un po' Manitta. Vicenza dunque in vantaggio.
In 2004, SSC Napoli was declared bankrupt, with a debt mounting of 46.1 million euros. Naples' long-standing presence in Italy's top flight was about to come to an end. However, there was a glimmer of hope. The Italian Football Federation FIGC had a special rule that permitted direct entry of a new franchise into a city where a football team had failed.
Aurelio De Laurentis nasce a Roma nel
The FIGC chose Aurelio De Laurentis, a well-known film producer, from among all bidders. Laurentis founded Napoli Soccer from the remains of the old entity in 2004. Although his initial intention was to re-establish the club under its previous name, FIGC's restrictions thwarted him. He would return the club's crest, name and history 2 years later. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of Napoli's journey, their crowning moment, downfall and rebirth. Napoli's journey began in 1905 when an English sailor named William Poth founded the Naples Cricket and Football Club. Napoli has overseen a few little changes since then, with the merging of Internazionale Napoli and the Naples Cricket and Football Club in 1922 being the most major alteration. Together, they established FCB Inter-Naples, which operated until 1966. After that, SSC Napoli, their current name, was chosen. The most recent modification occurred in 2004, as we have noted. Antonio Wozak was a standout before World War II and held the top-scoring position for 5 seasons. In the 60s, manager Bruno Pesaola would assemble a strong team that included players like Jose Altafini, Dino Joff, Omar Sivori and hometown hero Antonio Giuliano, and won the Coppa Italia in 1962 while being in the second division. They remained competitive throughout the 70s, but again their form declined at the start of the 80s. They had finished 10th and 12th for 2 consecutive seasons when the signing of Maradona from FC Barcelona was announced for a reported fee of 12 million, a figure which was so astronomical for a club of Napoli's stature that club president Corrado Farliano had to urge the politicians for a bank loan. Fans started fundraising on the streets, and rumors have it that the Neapolitan Camorra also contributed. Diego, despite having 38 goals in 58 games, did not fit at all in Barcelona. He became a headache for the Catalan club due to on-field injuries as well as off-field problems like drug usage, excessive partying and falling out with the management. However, Maradona discovered a city in Naples that resembled his hometown Villa Fiorito. It gave him a cause to fight for the underprivileged. Since its unification, Italy has historically been divided into 2 halves. Mineral resources, businesses and fashion hubs are found in the northern region, whereas the southern region is primarily dependent on agriculture. The disparity between the economy and lifestyle of these 2 regions' populations was enormous. The southern region saw gang warfare, drug trafficking, poor governance, unemployment and organized crime. Furthermore, they had to put up with intolerable jibes from northerners who taunted them as farmers or cholera victims. And fans responded by coming in numbers during Diego's presentation. The official attendance was 75,000, much more than the venue could cater for. At that time, Serie A was probably the strongest and the richest league in the world. Every team, from top to bottom, boasted world-class foreigners like Platini and Laudrup were at Juve, Van Basten, Gullit and Rijkaard at AC Milan, Matthäus, Brehme, Rummenigge and Klinsmann at Inter, Falcao, Cerezo at Roma, Socrates and Passarella at Fiorentina, Zico at Udinese. Still, Napoli had no such heavyweights, and Maradona knew he had to suffer and toil hard to bring joy to the fans. And grind he did. His first 2 seasons were not successful. Napoli finished 8th and 3rd. But after returning as a world champion in 1986, Maradona took Napoli to the most coveted Serie A title. Same season, they were crowned the champion of Coppa Italia. No southern team had ever done that. So with the final whistle, the whole city, which was so numb for the whole 90 minutes, erupted into a pandemonium that could put Mount Vesuvius in shame. What followed was an unprecedented celebration throughout the month. There were parades with coffins having Juventus' logo. People of all ages ran like maniacs throughout the city wearing curly wigs. Someone even hanged a banner outside of Naples' most prominent grave saying, "You don't know what you guys have missed." They kept up this fine form for the following 2 seasons, finishing second behind both Milan clubs before Maradona gave them another trophy. This time on the international scene, as Napoli defeated Stuttgart to win the 1989 UEFA Cup. In 1990, they again captured the Scudetto, the Messiah of Naples. Maradona had already attained this status. And why not? Just think about it in terms of the present. Can Mbappe join Fulham and lead them to the Premier League title? Players like Alemão and Zola, as well as Italian internationals like Ciro Ferreira, Fernando De Napoli, Salvatore Bagni, and Bruno Giordano were present with Maradona. But with 76 goals in 5 Serie A seasons, he was the apex of it. He was their top scorer 4 times. But all good things comes to an end. Maradona's love affair with Napoli was in complete jeopardy when the Argentine wanted a transfer to Marseille ahead of the 1989 campaign. He was denied. Therefore, he boycotted the training for 1 month at the start of the season. His wrongdoings, such as drug addiction, womanizing, and alleged relationship with the notorious Giuliano family, one of the most sought after in Neapolitan Camorra, was the subject of the club's deep shock. Maradona himself added fuel into it during the 1990 World Cup held in Italy. Maradona asked Neapolitans to support Argentina's national side ahead of a vital semi-final match against Italy, arguing that they were not a part of Italy. Most Italians disliked Maradona as a result, and he became one of the most disliked people in Italy. Early in 1991, he was already under public investigation when his name was included in an alleged phone call concerning drug trafficking, which he avoided by paying a heavy penalty of 5 million lira. But the final nail in the coffin came in March of the same year. Diego tested positive for cocaine following a match versus Bari in Serie A. Following that, he was given a 15-month ban, subsequently ending his career in Naples. He was 31 and never the same player again. Maradona later blamed his downfall on dirty politics, which after reviewing all the evidence does not appear to be made up at all. Everyone in Naples was well aware of his legendary lifestyle. How come it took them 7 years to find all the evidence? Due to the rise of Gianfranco Zola, Fabio Cannavaro, Daniel Fonseca, Benito Carbone, and managers such as Claudio Ranieri, Marcelo Lippi, and Vuzatin Boskov, Napoli remained competitive for the first half of the 1990s, finishing 4th and 6th respectively. However, financial difficulties soon became apparent when the club became embroiled in the Tangentopoli scandal, which left them in deep debt. To keep the club from going bankrupt, returning president Corrado Farliano chose to sell some of his best players. In 1994, Zola and Cannavaro joined Parma, Ferreira joined Juventus, and Carbone joined Inter in 1995. In 1996-97, Napoli was in the second position after 14 games, when the manager Gigi Simeone was fired after a disagreement with the board. They finished 14th in that season, losing the Coppa Italia against Vicenza. They only had 14 points at the end. A brief comeback to Serie A for the 2000-2001 season was short-lived, as financial issues swiftly worsened. That season, they were demoted again. Meanwhile, after a prolonged legal battle over ownership, Corrado Farliano was kicked out of the club and his shares were liquidated. Later, majority shareholder and president Corbelli was arrested for alleged corruption. Napoli was deeply in debt when, much to their dismay, a severe flood in Naples ruined several areas of San Paulo, causing them to play on other grounds. But the final nail in their coffin was hit in 2004, when the Civil Tribunal of Naples declared them bankrupt. We have told you at the beginning about this story. Now, we are gonna tell you how Aurelio De Laurentis made Napoli what it is today. The season that Laurentis took over Napoli, they missed promotion to the Serie B by a brink, but the next season they were successful. Serie B that season is remembered for other reasons. Juventus, who were found involved in the Calciopoli scandal, were docked 9 points and were forced to play in Serie B. So the battle was tough. At the end of the season, the Turin-based side came out as eventual champions, and Napoli, under Eduardo Reza, achieved their much-needed draw in the last match to finish second best and qualify for the Serie A next season after 6 long years.
Da parte del Napoli con Rullo, Lex recupera il pallone dentro, Cavallò!
Credit also goes to their great fans who turned out in numbers to support the squad even on their worst days. Napoli's average attendance reached 50,000 on a regular basis over this 6-year period, breaking all Serie B attendance records. While taking over, De Laurentis asked for patience from the fans and promised them a club they could be proud of. Since its return, Napoli have never finished outside of the top 10. During this time, they have also won 2 Coppa Italia trophies, came close to winning the Scudetto several times, and competed regularly in UEFA competitions. The first 2 years in Serie A were difficult, but new additions Marek Hamzik and Ezekiel Lavezzi showed potential. Napoli, however, quickly became a force to be reckoned with after the arrival of manager Walter Mazzarri and new additions Edinson Cavani, Gökhan Inler. The Uruguayan was bought for 17 million from Palermo and became Napoli's top scorer for 3 consecutive seasons, scoring 104 goals in 138 matches, helping the club to win its 4th Coppa Italia title in 2011-12 and finishing 8 points behind champions Juventus in 2012-13. Prior to the 2013-14 season, Mazzarri left Napoli and Cavani was traded to PSG for 64 million euros. Spanish tactician Rafa Benitez took over and began recruiting some of the players who would later support Napoli's success in years to come. Raul Albiol, Jose Callejon and Gonzalo Higuain from Real Madrid, Dries Mertens from PSV and Jorginho, a 22-year-old CDM from Hellas Verona. That year, Napoli won their 5th Coppa Italia. Higuain became one of the significant members of Maurizio Sarri's team during their title charge in 2015-16, although they finished runners-up. El Pipita scored 36 league goals, a record in Napoli's history. He was sold for a whopping 90 million to Juventus. Veterans such as Insigne, Callejon and Mertens subsequently took command. Due to their effective planning, Napoli has been one of the most consistent sides in Serie A over the last 10 years. Despite selling their great players at regular intervals for big prices, they have found the ideal replacement at a lower cost. When Jorginho left in 2018, they used that fee to sign Fabian Ruiz and goalkeeper Alex Miret. Only time they have spent huge transfer money in recent years was to sign Victor Osimhen from Los Lille in 2020-21. Safe to say, it was a success. Imagine replacing Koulibaly with Kim Min-jae, or finding Insigne's replacement in Kvaratskhelia, or fitting Andre Frank Jumbo Anguissa perfectly into Fabian Ruiz's role. They deserve the title more than anyone else.